Hi everyone, Devorah Esther here. Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Kosher 2.0. I know it seems like it's been a little while since we've had our usual broadcast, and I just want to say thank you to Hashem for sending me, Rabbi Shimshon David Pinchas as a kind of fill-in, which was just perfect because I was able to do the video that I put out yesterday, which is Why Am I Here, which really, really takes a long time. And I'm just so, humbled by Hashem's, I don't even have words for what it is, but just his conversations that he has with me on a daily basis. And a lot of people were so inspired by that video, and really what it is it's an overflow of the conversation and the emotion that comes from Shem and I talking to each other, which is really what we're all supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be talking to him all the time about everything. And, I really am like a lovesick teenager. Like everything kind of goes to the wayside, and even my husband has commented that he knows he's number two, and he's just fine with it because Hashem is number one. You really start to change the dynamics of your life and how you interact with other people. And I just can't tell you, what an amazing payoff it has been to do the hard work in my life and to change my own path. To make a decision to be on the true path. It has meant everything to me. It has meant everything to me. And I can't say enough thank yous to Hashem for his mercy, because I'm really not deserving of of anything that he gives me. It's just, I exist purely on his kindness to me. So I just want to thank everyone again. Your well wishes on this video have been such a tremendous hizuk for me, because you put yourself out there and you don't know what the reaction will be, and it's been such a positive one. And I'm just so grateful to you for reaching out to me in such a verbal way. It's just been so amazing and incredible. But with that, I'm going to start our broadcast, and I'm going to jump into eye health. And eye health is really important for a lot of us because we need to see. I mean, I think that's a good thing to be able to do, right? You want to see. And during my illness, I had a lot of issues with the eye health. And in particular, I was starting to develop like glaucoma. I had a ptosis, which is kind of like a lazy eye, if you will, due to the myasthenia gravis. And for sure, I've had very, very severe dry eye, to the point where they've had to put like little plugs in to kind of help with the circulation. And I want to say that of everything that, I had to heal from, the eye area has been the hardest and the longest. But for sure, Baruch Hashem, we're making great progress. And it was, the ironic thing is that the doctors knew I was better. The eye, the laziness of the eye, which was closed, I think about 5 or 6 millimeters, I think went up to like a 0.5, which is almost non-visible. And they knew at that point that I was onto something. And it was just tremendous. And it was very difficult to look at myself in the mirror. At that point, just emotionally, I felt like a shell of my former self, which in a way was not so bad, because I was looking to shed my old self anyway. But I think visually it was very difficult to see myself that way, because I had, it was such a visible handicap that was going on. So certainly I wanted to learn about everything that I can do for my own eye health. And, sometimes I feel like I as going through all this learning, I felt like I was just like someone who had all this like useless knowledge, and Baruch Hashem, like he really does give you all these things to help you on your journey. And so it's so funny, like I always kid that my son and I were like two people who are like insufferable know-it-alls. Like if there's a subject, we probably will know it all. And if you're ever on like a game show where you need a lifeline, for sure, give me and my son a call. We'll probably have the answer between the two of us. But so it's just so funny. But the eye, is part of the brain. And we don't think of it as part of the brain, but it is part of the brain. And it has many nerves, they're little optic nerves that go around. And, nutritionally, on a naturopathic view, problems of the eye come from either one or two things or both. And it's either that your circulation is off, or there could be like an osteoporosis of the skull. And we talked about that. I mentioned that in my osteoporosis of the skull, and I believe that was part 1 of osteoporosis. So we're talking about like some different things that go on with the eye, and what you can kind of do to kind of improve health. I've certainly seen a lot of good, progress, and I think that a lot of people can. And there's some things that you can make progress on, and there's some things that you just can't. And so we're talking about, we're going to start off when we're really little. And we're going to talk about the cornea. And the cornea is the kind of that clear part of the eye where the light comes in. And sometimes, children can develop like this fogginess in their eye. And generally, it's been linked to like a vitamin A deficiency. And normally, even if you're giving your child, a lot of people say, I'm giving my kid supplements and blah, blah, blah. But if there's like a problem with the way they're digesting, these things kind of creep up. And vitamin A not only will cause like a deficiency, will cause a cloudiness in the eye, but sometimes like if you ever notice that like some people on the back of their arms, they have these like little raised bumps. That's a vitamin A deficiency. Okay. So even if you're taking vitamin A and you don't know why this is happening, it's probably, and here we go. I'm going to say it, the bad word, gluten. So gluten intolerance, if you're having an issue, processing the gluten, it's going to, cause a problem in the absorption of your nutrients. And, gluten intolerance, to be clear, and I think I've said it before, but I may, I'm going to say it again. I may say it over and over and over. It's not the same as a gluten allergy. Okay. So you can take a gluten allergy test and actually come up negative and still have an intolerance. It's a totally different thing. So, you just want to be aware of that. You want to say, oh, well, I know I took a test and I was fine. Not so fast. Okay. So it's different, and, you're still having issues for it. So we're talking about the cloudiness that they get in the eye, with a vitamin A deficiency. And when that cloudiness continues, an erosion starts to happen and the pressure starts to build and it can bulge in the eyes. And that cloudiness can elevate to something called keratoconus, which generally can lead to a blindness. And I think people like Stevie Wonder or something have been linked to having that kind of blindness. And, who knows? I don't know. Maybe if they got nutritionally right, it'd be amazing to see what would be different. But, and then, eye ailments, it's a very big concern as you get older, obviously. And the older you get, the bigger of a concern it is. And some people can start to develop things like macular degeneration. And macular degeneration it's kind of like pigments that build up. And those are generally due to free radical damage. And we discussed that also in the antioxidant portion. So, you have this buildup of free radicals. And if you don't have the antioxidants, if you're not consuming a high ORAC diet, your body is not able to deal with this issue. So it becomes a problem. And some of the problems that can cause is things like glaucoma. And glaucoma, I had to go during my illness to somebody called a neuro-ophthalmologist, which, in Connecticut, I think there's only I don't know if there's more than 4. I don't know that there's more than 4 for the whole state of Connecticut. And I went to one of the best. And I remember to get in to see her initially was like it was 2 months. It was 8 weeks. I mean, and that was like, from what I was told, that was like pushing me up. Okay. So I don't even know what the actual waiting list to see her is. But, you know, and I had to do like hours and hours of tests. It was just like insane. And she had told me, she had asked me, she said, you know, have you ever been told you suffer from glaucoma? And I'm like, oy vavoy, really? I've been told I suffer from a lot. Let's just add it to the list. You know, I have to take out the list because it's just getting big by now. So glaucoma, they were, you know, starting to say you have to come in for every 6 months and et cetera. But glaucoma is like an obstruction or blockage, very much like the way you would get a heart blockage or anything like that. And when those arteries start to build pressure, it kind of displaces, you know, the everything in the eye. So it can cause you know, blurriness, and it can lead to blindness. So certainly it's a big issue, and circulation is generally something that's an issue with glaucoma, and you want to kind of build up that circulation. And part of what's obstructing that in circulation is the inflammation that's going on as well, which again, we talked about this with the free radicals and that whole process that goes on. And then I had something else that I want to talk about, which is cataracts. Now, you know, or cataracts, like the kids like to call them cataracts. So cataracts is also free radical damage, but this is to the proteins of the eyes, the lens of the eyes. And if you catch it early enough, if you catch it early enough, believe it or not, it is reversible, if you nutritionally at least. But there does come a point where you can stop it, but it won't be reversible. Now, believe it or not, I had the lupus, like I've said it before, and a lot of you know, and I had to take something called Plaquenil. And Plaquenil has been shown to have an increase of cataracts. And I actually did develop a cataract. And the problem with the cataract I developed is that it was inside the eye towards the center. So I am not a candidate of surgery, which is if your cataracts generally get so bad, surgery is the only recourse you have, even with nutritional supplementation. Okay, so listen, I tell you all the time, don't get rid of your doctor. Okay, I'm not totally opposed to doctors. They have their uses. This is one of them, you know. So there does come a point where you just have to have it surgically removed. And at that point, you want to make sure that you're not making yourself a candidate to have this problem later on down the road again. So, you know, one of the best things you can do is to make sure that you're good and supplemented. So, you know, again, you know, a lot of things like dry eye. I'm not sure if we mentioned it before. I could have sworn I did mention it in the osteoporosis of the skull. You know, is when it's like a pinching of the nerves, and you can get a dry eye. So again, you want to make sure that you're taking those supplementations, including your calcium, magnesium, and lazy eye, which is, you know, believe it or not, selenium. Selenium is key. I think I'm going to do a broadcast just on selenium because it's just, I'm telling you, if I told you the things it did, we should call it like super selenium because it's just really, really amazing. But selenium was one of those things that I really, 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 you know, can say really gave me a good upper hand on the lazy eye issue. But, you know, there's some great, you know, lutein is great. It's a great supplement for eye health. Things called zeaxanthin. Okay, don't ask me to spell that for like in a spelling bee or something because I'll get it wrong. So, like, if you're on a lifeline question, don't ask me for that one because I can just tell you what it is and what it does. I can't spell it. So, you know, zeaxanthin is very great. And believe it or not, a lot of eye vitamins tend to leave that supplement out, that portion of it out. So you want to look for that. It's called zeaxanthin. It does start with a Z and it has an X, and, you know, and anthines. I don't know. That's about as much as you're going to get out of a spelling from me. So, and vitamin A, like we talked about. But, you know, if you're taking a full range of vitamin and mineral supplementation on a daily, I would just add an extra, you know, selenium and calcium, and magnesium and vitamin D to be, if you're doing that, I think that you're going to really, really, really give yourself a great fighting chance, and really, just give yourself a chance to either slow down or prevent, depending on how old you are or what kind of ailments you have already in the eye. You really can give yourself a fighting chance if you're properly supplementing anyway. But selenium is one of those things that I would buy in addition to. Okay, so like if you get your calcium supplement, you supplement and make sure it's a good. And we talked about the absorption of those things, but you want to make sure that you're already like you've got the armor already on. To help your body, kind of deal with that. Increasing your ORAC score is going to be also beneficial in this. But, so there's some things you can do, to kind of get the upper hand on that. And so, the spiel, what's coming up. This is just my advice. It's not intended to replace your doctor, right? Go out and look for these things. But for sure, I guess the rule of thumb for this issue is, it's a circulation. There's a circulation issue, and there's an issue with the skull health, or the osteoporosis of the skull. So you want to kind of attack it from that angle, and really, and we talked about the foods that cause inflammation and stuff like that. I know it's not a fun diet. It's not a fun diet. But, you have to, only you can decide when is enough. You know what I mean? If, when I looked in the mirror and I had a lazy eye, for sure that was enough. Like it's just, I think there comes a point where you just say, Mamash, I've had enough. I'm done. And, I still have some cheating foods. For sure, I still have foods that I cheat with. But it's the exception and not the rule. And Shabbos, for sure, like I've told you all, it's a free day. It's a free day for me, for anything. It's a free day for me. And I really look forward to Shabbos because it is a free day for me. So, but those are some of the things you can do to kind of improve on your eye health. So, I want to thank you all again for your support and everything. You guys have just been so amazing, so amazing. I'm not sure I can live these final days without you guys. I'm so grateful for Hashem to bringing you all to me. And that's it for today. And I just want to thank you again for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed this edition of Kosher 2.0.